1,
2,
3,
4.
Monster movie.
Fun time, go! Monster movie.
Fun time, go. Monster
Movie.
fun time.
Go!
Monster movie. Fun time, go.
With Precious D and Honeybee.
Fun time, go!
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends and neighbors, welcome to Monster Movie Fun Time Go. 31 Days of Horror. Oops, All Werewolves edition. This is day number 22. And joining me today is my very special guest and longtime friend, filmmaker Billy Pond, also known as Bloody Bill. Welcome to the show, Billy. Welcome back to the show, Billy.
I'm a repeat offender.
This is your third.
Is it?
This is your third year in a row joining us.
I'm still waiting for those paychecks. I haven't seen the royalty
our spooky
checks
season extravaganza.
Yeah, I go along with spooky. It's like when I started haunted houses, that's what they called them, were spook houses back in the day.
Spook houses.
Yeah, they called them spook houses.
What are you doing out at the Billy runs? For if you don't know, folks, Billy directed Circus of the Dead and Doll Boy, but he is best known around these parts, for running the DEF CON and Circus of the Dead haunted house scare attraction thing out on 2nd Street.
It's the 25th year.
What's going on with that this year, Billy?
25th freaking
Wow.
year. Can you believe that? Who does a haunted house for 25 years?
Yeah,
Am I just a glutton for punishment or what?
Now, I haven't been working it since COVID, but I'll be back out there at some point, I'm sure. But you're doing it this year.
We're still outside because they still have those they changed the city laws the past 10 years. But the past 3 years locally they've cracked down on them, and you have to have a sprinkler system and certain things have one inside, because it's kind of a tough thing, because when you build a maze, it's purposely designed to, confuse you and not make it through. But then they say that's a fire hazard too. So I'm trying to get the fire sprinkler system, but they're quoting me like $122,000.
You don't want confusion if there's a fire.
Right.
I absolutely understand why they have that position.
Mm-hmm. So I think if I can do both. But right now we're outside, and we built a big old maze, and we're basically like a big sideshow freak show kind of thing, with Rusty as Mr. Blister.
So is it just one maze this year?
Yes, one big maze. We took basically 2/3 of DEF CON and all of Circus of the Dead and made one giant maze.
Okay. Well, today's movie is from 2012, a British so-called comedy horror film, Strippers versus Werewolves.
And that's as good as it gets right there with that title, because that title kicks ass.
Yeah. Well, I got to give them credit. It's got what it says on the tin. First scene right off the bat. A stripper kills a werewolf.
Yes.
Stabs him in the eye with a silver fountain pen. So
a CG fountain pen.
good on them for getting straight to it. I didn't know. I wasn't looking that close. I didn't notice it. Didn't notice the fountain pen was CG. But most of the werewolf stuff looked like practical.
I see it all. I see the editing and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah, these were the upright humanoid type werewolves.
Yeah,
they had minimum makeup, but that's
very minimum.
An improvement from well, we watched one of them this month that had no makeup. They just
they're werewolves still. Really.
There was some teeth. The thing is, there was also vampires in the movie, and they didn't do any effort to distinguish the werewolves from the vampires, because their eyes glowed and there was some teeth, and that was about it. But that's a different episode. We'll leave that one for now. Let's see here. Let me get to our cast quickly. We have Adele Silva as Justice, Martin Compston as Scott, Billy Murray as Jack Ferris. That's Billy Murray, not Billy Murray.
Yeah, I got that.
Ali Bastian as Danny, Barbara Nedljavokova. Jakova?
Yeah, she was in the first Hostel, Dominic.
Okay.
She's real good.
Raven.
Yeah.
Sarah Douglas as Jeanette. Sarah Douglas was in a couple Superman movies. Simon Phillips as Sinclair. Martin Kemp as Mickey. Alan Ford as Harry. Charlie Bond as Carrie. Nick Nevern as Franklin. Rita Ramnani as Chastity. Stephen Burkoff as Flett. Robert Englund as the man who worked one day on this film, Tapper.
Yeah.
Lizette Anthony as Basildon Cinemagoer, I guess. Oh, good Lord. That's the woman from Krull, isn't it?
Is it?
Looking at her picture here. I didn't recognize her name, but I recognize her. Yeah. I recognized her headshot. Well, that's sad. Mark Bayless as Carlos. Joe Egan as Barker. Jude Poyer as Nut. Dean Williams as Mutt. And there's a bunch of other stuff, but they're just like policeman number 1 and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Fuck those guys.
This movie starts off with Hungry Like the Wolf.
Yeah, and that I was like thinking, dang, they just blew their whole budget on that. But then after watching the credits, it was a copy.
But it was so close that it fooled my Shazam. Because I was like, I was trying to remember. I'm like, that's Duran Duran, isn't it? Let me Shazam it.
Yeah, and I was like, yeah. I was with you on that one. I was like, holy shit.
They played it so close to the original that Shazam thought it was the original.
Yeah, I didn't know either. That's amazing. And I'm guessing that if you use a copy, it's cheaper than using the original.
Yes. I first read about that years ago. There was some movie could not afford an Elvis song, so they hired an Elvis impersonator to re-record the song. But still, compared to the other songs in the film, just getting the rights, just paying the royalty to even re-record it was probably a significant portion of the budget. The rest of it went to Robert Englund.
Yeah. I thought it's like he was sitting in the jail too. I felt like I was watching Stranger Things.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
But every other song appeared to be by a group called Soda Jerkers.
Yeah.
Who I assume are friends of the... And when I Shazam those, they were listed as from this soundtrack. So,
okay.
I'm guessing
well, I got hooked on that one song
producer.
called BMW. He loves my BMW, and I kept singing it all day today, and it was making the step kid real mad. He watched the movie with me last night, and he was wanting to go to bed, and I go, no, stay up and watch it with you. Stay up and watch it with me. And he's like pretty mad that I made him watch that movie.
Some people complain that there's not enough stripping.
Yeah.
Wikipedia here says no one actually strips. I'm like, okay, no, they were dancing naked on stage, having already stripped. But really, you're going to nitpick that? Is that your issue with this film?
Yeah, there was way
watch
more than
the clothes come off. The clothes were already off.
Right.
So I've been classifying these movies, and I guess this falls broadly into the category 3. Some of you, if you've been listening all month, you've heard this before. Type 1 werewolf movie is some dude gets bit by a werewolf or some girl has to deal with it. Type 2 is there's a werewolf among us. We got to figure out who it is.
Okay.
Type 3 is the secret lives of werewolves.
Okay, I thought you were going to say cluster.
There's a werewolf.
Part 3, but...
There's a society. There's a werewolf society, and we get introduced to. There's multiple ones of them, and they have their. Yes, exactly. Yeah. They have their customs and all that kind of shit. We got to find out about it. So this is, and not every film fits in those 3 categories, but this one has elements.
Oh,
of
you're
category
right.
3.
That makes sense. I like what you did because, I was trying to think of what good werewolf movies. Of course, American Werewolf in London.
Right.
But what would fall in this third one would be a movie called Dog Soldiers.
Yeah. Well, Dog Soldiers one, I felt. Yeah, we talked about that one. I thought that one was sort of outside of the those 3 categories because we don't really learn that much of. Well, we don't learn. We're not introduced. We see multiple werewolves. They have some kind of society, but we don't really learn anything about it.
Yeah.
And there's a little bit of
that's like Billy though. You just don't give him an answer. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a little bit of there's a little Werewolf Among Us, but it's not the main point of the film. So that one's more just your basic base under siege kind of movie. There's bad things outside trying to get inside, which it's its own a whole category of films and TV episodes and stuff. But this one is a little bit of a type 3. And then, of course, there is one person that gets infected. And a lot of the movies, they mix the two together, you know. There's some schmo who's going through the process, but there's also uncovering who it was that bit him to begin with. So
that's true.
They do mix it up. Anyway, for some reason, this werewolf on a full moon night has gone to a strip club. But it's made clear later in the film that this is not his first day. He had to know this was going to happen. So I don't know what the fuck he was thinking. But I guess at some point in the past, the lady who owns the club had her club attacked by werewolves.
Yeah,
and had to blow it up or some shit.
Autumn when she was young, and
so this guy starts to change, and the stripper puts a pen in his eye, which is silver, so it kills him. And then the rest of the movie is kind of dealing with the consequences and the fallout of that. They got to get rid of the body. Because they were mad that
they killed the boy.
Yeah, the other werewolves are like, "Hey, what's his name?" They go out looking for him. The people at the strip club are just trying to get rid of the body. One of the other strippers sees it and just flips out and is traumatized through the rest of the film.
Yeah, I knew she was going to be killed right off the bat. But remember, too, though, he hit it, but he died with an erection that wouldn't go away. So, and they had the body covered up there punching his erection. Yeah.
Which is part of the comedy part of the comedy horror film.
If you say so, Dominic.
You can judge. I mean, yes, you can judge for yourself whether or not that succeeded, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, at one point they're smashing it in the trunk of their car when they're trying to get rid of it. Okay, so what I'm gathering you didn't care for this film that much, but is there anything about it that you did enjoy?
Well, here's the thing: is I think you can learn from every movie. So even movies like this, I could watch is like. They had the stuff to make a good movie. They had it seems like pretty good equipment and things like that. But they, and even sometimes just an okay story can make a good horror movie. But I just feel like the execution was just failed, and it might have had a lot to do with directing and editing kind of thing. It felt like they're trying to be cool with their wipe ins and comic boxes and aim at everybody with the freeze frame and It's like just trying real hard. It's like, hey, look at us, we're really cool, and it wasn't cool. It was almost embarrassing, you know. I give everybody the benefit of the doubt because it ain't easy making a damn movie. But they made one. They even had Robert Englund. It had potential, you know. I think it could have been good, but I think it could have had a lot of that cheesiness and put more of a dark factor in it to make it more scary. It's everybody's go-to is comedy. Horror is if they can't make a good horror movie, they go, "Oh, we meant to do it like that." You know, that's the whole Room thing. You know what I mean? It's just people just use that as an excuse.
Comedy and horror are closely related, though. They're both about creating tension and releasing the tension.
There you go.
It's just the way you do it. So I do think some of the best horror films have that element of comedy in them. I don't think anybody. But it's not like anybody in it was like a particularly bad actor.
No.
You know, and it looked professionally shot for the most part.
It's direction. Though,
you
know what I mean? It's like it's what they're doing in there. They weren't bad at acting. They did with what they had. But it's like and they had that one girl in there, or they're torturing that one person in the chair, mobster werewolves, and they said, "Well, what if we have your kids and we cut their feet off?" He goes, "Oh no, you despicable persons." You know, it's like, it's not the thing. You would be, you know, when we had Parrish and he talked about killing his wife and all that, you know, Parrish started screaming and yelling and stuff. That's the reaction you want. To call somebody, you punk head, you know, it's just not the reaction. It goes like the director should catch this stuff. You know, and say, this is feeling awkward. Let's do it again. This is feeling awkward. Can we shoot this again?
Now, one thing I liked, although it was not fully realized, it was just a sort of quirky thing on the side, was the occultist boyfriend of one of the strippers.
Mm-hmm.
But So this is part of the problem
Sinclair.
with the film.
His name was Sinclair, and he should have been
he
the
ends
lead
up right. He ends up not being terribly important to what happens
at all. Yeah.
She calls him to
He's an
get, hey,
afterthought.
would this
Yeah.
work? She calls him to see if this thing would work, and he's like, yeah, that'll work, but I'm busy dealing with my thing right now. I can't
Yeah.
help you with that. He should have been the one to come in and give them all the rules and tell them what they
Yes.
needed to do. And they could have played up that relationship a lot more. And that could have been the thing that brought them back together. He was feeling like he wasn't cool enough for her. She thought the opposite.
Yes. Yes.
Again, you can judge which of them is correct. But I like that. I like the whole idea of him. But let's talk about Robert Englund for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
What the fuck was that about?
No.
His scene,
He needed a car.
Robert
He needed to pay a car payment or something.
Yeah, well, he's in one scene and then in a post-credit thing, but shot in the same location. So it's one day of work. Could not have been there for more than one day.
No. They all do this though, Dominic.
Yeah, his scene is of absolutely no consequence to the film whatsoever.
At all. Right.
It is not really connected to the rest of the plot. He seems to be like he was the former alpha or something that's being held prisoner somewhere.
Yes.
And the current leader, so we should say these werewolves, the werewolves that we see are all part of a sort of a petty crime ring.
Yeah.
They're kind of the mob, but they seem sort of low rent mob.
Yeah.
And it turns out that one of them is dating the stripper Justice, the one who's killed the other werewolf.
Yeah, the one that stabbed the guy in the eyeball.
Yeah. So at one point, the current leader goes to talk to Robert Englund and I guess just kind of tells him what's going on. And they have a scene and the guy leaves, but he doesn't get any information from him really. He doesn't get, it doesn't affect the plot at all. So I feel like what happened was they had this movie written and they're starting to make it. And somebody said, hey, I think I can get Robert Englund for a day.
Right. Yeah.
That'll add a little class to the movie. And so they said, okay, we'll write a scene for him. And then that was it. I don't think that scene could not possibly have been in the original draft of the film.
No, just we could say it like it is. It was, he was in there because he's Robert Englund.
Yeah.
Being a filmmaker myself I've talked to these people, and seen what it takes to get them in there. And it takes a lot of money and then you just get them for a day,
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just try not to do that stunt casting stuff. If
But
I'm going to bring Robert Englund, I want him to be, do something great because he is great.
Yeah. But it made me think a little less of him. I mean, yeah, maybe he just had a house payment he needed to make, but it does seem like, why did you even agree to do this when you can, you should be, as an artist, as a actor, you can look at this and tell that this scene has nothing to do with anything. It's totally gratuitous and there's no reason for you to be there.
Does he put it? You think he puts it up on his top 3 or 4 movie roles?
No, of course, no. I'm sure he doesn't mention it at all. If he were making a resume, which he doesn't need to do, he would not include it on his resume. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
And he's not bad or anything. It's not like he's bad.
Not at
It's
all.
just unnecessary. Just totally unnecessary.
He knows how to direct himself. That's what I was looking at too. Is
Yeah.
when he talks, he has those pauses. It's like that's what I said. You can always tell the actors and stuff in these horror movies. Robert Englund has a way of doing things, and that's what makes them great. But really good ones always have something interesting about them. But that's where the lack of direction comes in on some of these other ones. Some of those, the lead werewolf guy seemed pretty interesting. He had that look. He looked like the guy from John Wick, Ian McShay. Is that his name?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Kind of looked like him, and he was pretty good. In fact, the step kid coming through here thought that's who that was. And I go, oh, no, I don't think that's him, bud. So he had a good look, and he wasn't bad. He just, I don't know, it just wasn't being directed good.
We did have a set of Chekhov's brass knuckles, silvered brass knuckles.
Yeah, that was kind of cool. But there again, it makes something more about him,
But it took forever for them to get. I'm like, okay, she's made this guy the bouncer at the club. She for some reason the stripper that likes him makes him a pair of silver knuckles with his name engraved on them.
Half his name on one and half his name on the other.
Yeah, So, and I'm presumably written backwards so that when he punches somebody, it will show up on their face.
That's a Billy
And I'm like,
Pond
okay, so they're going to get used against the werewolves at some point.
Yeah, of course.
And they even have a scene with him showing her how to throw a punch even before that.
Yeah, and try to make it sweet and all this kind of stuff. So that way she can say it again. Elbows in, turn your body, your hips, yeah.
Yeah. But it takes forever to get to that. And I think it should have been a little more important once it happened. It should have been a little more pivotal.
Yeah, I
in
agree
the fight. In the end, they just ended up blowing up the werewolves and themselves, but they've all become bitten at this point.
But he lets them rejoin because the werewolves can rejoin each other, but they picked up the boy werewolves and put them in little jars so that way they couldn't reform.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Later on, maybe they can put silver on them or something.
But they put
but yes, that was their
Billy Pond ending with the. I would have liked to seen a movie with just the stripper werewolves fighting somebody. That would have been fun too.
Yeah. They basically turn into superheroes at the end.
Yeah.
And are going to be crime-fighting werewolves, along with Sinclair.
That's the way that movie ended. It's probably how you see DC movies lately.
Yeah, the end there might have been the movie we should have been watching all along.
Yeah. Well, if somebody greenlights a part 2 of this one, boy, I'm gonna go slap them in the face because damn, who's thinking this shit through? But man, it's all out there. I mean, and that was 2012 too. More we get, like now, everybody and their dog's making stuff. So now you're getting even really bad technical stuff. Like audio being bad and stuff like that. That one didn't have that. Like I said, I felt like it was just more of directing and editing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't. Wikipedia is not showing me a budget or a box office for this. Well, it probably was. Oh, took in only 38 pounds at the UK box office when released. That can't possibly be correct,
what
can
is
it?
Pounds?
Well, it's their base. It's like $1. It's worth about.
I took out $38.
Yeah, it's worth about. It fluctuates, of course, but it's between $1.50 to $2 usually, the exchange rate. So what? That would mean it was only released in one theater, and 4 or 5 people showed up.
Well, you know that I always talk about that movie Terrifier. The other clown, Art the Clown. They got a theatrical release on part 2 over here in America, and last I heard, they're like 20 million on their little just 1 month release. So that's considered a success, big time. I would have killed for that. Hell, I would have been all right with the freaking Burger King combo meal for my movie, but
Okay, Billy, this is a part of the show. I guess we're going to give this movie a rating. We're using a moon phase scale this year. So it's a new moon, quarter moon, half moon, 3/4, or full moon. What are you going to rate this movie?
Well, I mean, it's a werewolf, but I'm going. You had 5 things there?
Yeah. It's basically 1 through 5.
I'll give it the second one then.
Quarter moon?
Quarter moon, yeah.
Yeah, I think just based on the much worse movie I also watched this week, I'm going to give it a quarter moon as well.
I could hear people talk. They were in focus. That usually gets you. That usually gets you a start anyway.
Okay then. Well, folks, I think that's going to wrap it up for today.
Hold
Billy, where
on
can folks find you? Oh yeah, you got more? Go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that. I saw that thing for Cowboys versus Kaijus. What is that? That sounds.
That's a comic book. It's
awesome.
A comic book.
Is it something you're doing? You're writing or what?
No. I just did an interview with the people that make it. It was a Kickstarter for the 3rd issue, crowdfunding for the 3rd issue.
Yeah.
So I had them on to talk about it and promote their Kickstarter, which is over now.
Oh, so it's people that name and that.
No, I didn't know that. I just I back a lot of things on Kickstarter, mostly games, but occasional comic books. No, I just reached out to them and asked if they wanted to come on the show and talk about it. I've had a bunch of role-playing game guests on if their game is kaiju related.
Yeah.
And or horror. I've had a couple of just horror ones on during October. And we have a couple of this season as well. And that was the first time I'd seen a guy.
It caught my attention, Dom.
Yeah. Well, I'll let you take a look at it when it comes in.
Yeah, heck yeah, I'd love to see that. It sounds great. I hope they have some success with that.
Yeah. Well, they're doing their third issue, and they've got 12 planned out. They're going to do a couple of these crowdfunding things a year. So we'll probably have them on again when they do the next one. So that'll wrap it up for today, folks. Billy, tell them where they can find you on the internet.
I'm on Facebook under Bloody Bill. I'm on Instagram under Bloody Bill. I'm on Grindr under Bloody Bill. And I'm on Pornhub under Bloody Bill 3.
Okay, 3. 2 other guys beat you to it?
On that one, Pornhub.
We'll have links in the show notes, and there's a profile page on our website, which is mmftg.com. Go there for links to all of our other things, and you can support the show on Patreon at patreon.com/mmftg. Thanks for joining us again, Billy. Have a good haunting season out there at the house, at the haunted house, at the DEF CON.
Thank you, brother. Always good to
Mr.
talk
Blisters.
to you.
You too.
Mr. Blisters haunt of murders and madmen or something. Monsters and madmen.
You don't remember? Okay. Join us again tomorrow for a look at another werewolf movie. Until then, I have been your host, Precious D. Remember to keep calm and take shelter in basements. Please do not misuse science. We will not see you, but you will hear us next time on Monster Movie Fun Time Go. You've been listening to Monster Movie Fun Time Go. If you enjoyed the show, please rate and review us on your podcasting platform of choice. Our theme song is by the Texacato Folk Rock Punk featuring Lita Lopez. You can support the show, find links to our social media, and even leave us a voice message at anchor.fm/mmftg.